Well, I want to begin by thanking Michael for his very warm welcome and all of you for being here to greet us all as we begin work on Chris's play. Boston does hold a very special place for me personally. 25 years ago, when I graduated from UNC Chapel Hill, I came to Boston and became gainfully employed at the American Repertory Theater across the river and did some of my early, if you will, evolving work there with Bruce Dean and Mr. Rob Orchard. So in that wonderful company that was gathered there at the Rep. So it's great to finally be back here directing a new production from the ground up. Here with this wonderful staff who has been so amazing to us already, and the lead up to get us here and our kind of pre-rehearsal work that began over the weekend. I think it's a rare play that sends us back to reading the US Constitution. I just finished a production of The Best Man in New York, and Gore Vidal told me last year, he said, most people have never read the Constitution, let alone understand what it means. So it's probably a good thing that we have plays that promote us to go back and look at how we got to where we are and who it is that we are as a nation and as a body and as a community. And here we are in Boston, that a lot of people love to call Beantown, but it also has the nicknames the Cradle of Liberty, the Athens of America. And of course, it was founded by those Puritans who were trying to escape religious persecution and somehow find a freedom that they could possess and hold as theirs. And they sent their representatives to the Constitutional Convention and wrote that great document that I think all of us take for granted on some level. So if you'll indulge me for just one minute. I'm going to read the Constitution. I'd like to read you the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. This was all to specify how to make a more perfect union, to create a domestic tranquility in order that we may have the blessings of liberty for ourselves and for posterity. But what happens when that freedom allows for an expression that provokes a violent and murderous response? Should there be limits to our sacred freedom of speech? And if so, what should those limits be? Who should decide what those limits are? You can see the dangers of that. And if there are not to be limits to our freedom of speech, how do we resolve the conflict when one religion's fundamentalist sect does not share the same ideology of our founding fathers? These are just some of the essential questions that are posed and explored in Chris's urgent political thriller that also has at its center a stirring and very personal family drama. You all may think, in light of last week's explosive events and the continuing controversy today, the cartoons that are ridiculing Muhammad have been published in a magazine in France, invoking the closures of embassies, French embassies in 20 countries and cancellations of protests there in France. You may think that this play was written over the weekend. But you all know that 4 years ago, the play had its world premiere at the Royal Court in London. I think it's so fantastic, Michael, that you and Peter and your staff that is like-minded have stepped forward to bring this play home to American soil, this essential American play that has so much to say about our American character, our American identity, and finally give it a home here. It's beyond relevant and timely, and its prescient author is only 37 years old, and I don't know how he must have a crystal ball on both how history will play out in our future. His plays have ranged from the Pulitzer finalist Dying City to the two other plays that I've gotten to collaborate with him on, What Didn't Happen and Picked. He is someone that celebrates language, but does it with such a lean and mean efficiency. All of this play will take place in the span of 85 minutes, and that is extraordinary. I think that this play is perhaps his most potent, brutally honest play to date, and I'm very pleased to introduce my collaborator and good friend who will tell you about the history of the play, Christopher Shinn.
I just thank you, Michael, both Michaels, for your very, very kind words about my work and this play in particular. I mean, I think Michael said quite a lot, and I'll just speak for a moment about the play in personal terms. I wrote the play in 2007 as that election was just beginning to come into focus in the Democratic primaries, and it was a play that I wrote knowing that it would be produced at a time when the play was taking place. And I thought, well, gosh, how do you write a play set in 2008 and 2007 and you don't know what's going to be happening? One thing that was really clear was that the conflict between the freedom of expression that most Western countries hold quite dear and, as Michael said, a sect of fundamentalist Islam that does not hold those values. This was a difference that would be lasting. And when there are differences that are so profound, they're apparently irresolvable. And even if they go away for a while, they simmer down for a while, I knew that they would bubble up again. So I don't think I had a crystal ball so much as I knew the nature of trauma and difficulty is that when it isn't dealt with and resolved, it comes back again. And one reason I gave the play the title, Now or Later, was I wanted to signal to the audience on some subliminal level that if the events of the play were not in the news now, they would be later. And it's extraordinary that it's turned out with this production that it is now rather than later that we're talking about all this stuff again. The other thing I'd say, I knew when I gave the play the title Now or Later that it was a very open-ended title, it could have lots of meanings. I really didn't have any idea that it could also be referring to a US production of the play. For a long time it was later, and finally it is now. So it is a very special day for me. This is a play that came from very deep inside of me and in my heart, not just because of the political issues, but as Michael said, because of the very deep personal family issues as well. So to finally be able, in my home country, to see a US premiere of this play, it's really immensely moving. So I thank both of you and everyone here for bringing this play to this country, to your city, to your theater, and to life. So thank you very much.